out of luck for that point. Have you, as you're doing the homework, has anybody ever had to go through the first three, or did you get it before then?
I think with the question we just did, I had to go through the first three because I just was unsure what it was asking me at first. But all it does is pretty much it's just the same question, but just changes the values a little bit.
Right. So you're doing the same process. You're just doing it with different numbers.
Yeah, so like the tether will be 100 feet instead of 120, and it'll change the thing slightly.
Right. So if you're experiencing that's part of the way this works. So hopefully that's not too big an issue. I'm looking at everybody. It looks good. Let me try, since you're a little bit of a guinea pig, let me try clicking on this thing and see if I can do what I do. It says pen video. So is that a big picture now?
Yeah.
Right. So I know we all know this, but let's pretend we're doing this as a little list. If you were thinking about how you would name angles, there are two different ways of doing it. And we start off, let's say, with a unit circle. And if I made this angle here 30 degrees, that would be the degree measure. And if you go right round a circle, that's 360. But if I wanted to know what the radian measurements is, it would be the distance from this guy, I'll call this guy P, this guy Q. So if you did the arc from P to Q, that would be the angle in radians. Just move my screen a bit. There we go. Was that reasonably easy to follow?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's give you a question. That's a good way of starting. Has anybody got to the section with SOHCAHTOA on it yet?
Just started, haven't done anything with it yet, though.
Okay. Anybody did SOHCAHTOA yet?
No, I haven't started.
Okay, let's show you what you're going to get here. One of the first things you need to do, and we have lecture notes on Canvas, and we have PDFs, and we have PowerPoints and all sorts of cool stuff. So, you know, if the textbook intro is not enough, because sometimes textbooks are like that, and certainly use Canvas a lot. Right, let's suppose we have a right angle triangle. Then when you do SOHCAHTOA, what that allows us to do is to name or to calculate the 6 trig ratios. And this one actually gets us the sine. This one here gets us the cosine. And that last one there gets us the tangent. We'll show you how the formula works. The SAW, the CA, and the TOA. SAW tells us that the sine, and it's the opposite over the hypotenuse. Well, you need to know from your right angle triangle who these sides are. From this angle's perspective, this angle over here is opposite the angle, and it's called the opposite. This one here is right next door to it. It's adjacent, so it's called the adjacent. And this fellow over here is called the hypotenuse. So if I wanted to find the sine of this angle, it would be opposite over hypotenuse. If I wanted to get the cosine of this angle, it would be the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And if I wanted to get the tangent of this angle, it would be the opposite over the adjacent. And you're going to get questions in the book that says something like, okay, here's a right angle triangle. They probably won't name them. They'll just give you numbers. So they might tell you this guy's 5 and this guy's 10. And they might ask you, what is the tangent? Well, if they ask you to find the tangent of this angle, it's opposite over adjacent. It would be a half. And then they get sneaky on you. and they give you the same question, but they ask you for an angle or a trig ratio, something like the cosine. Well, I know that cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, and I know the adjacent is 10. The problem is I don't know the hypotenuse. Now, if you look at this triangle, if I draw a little baby version of it, this guy is 5 and this guy's 10. To get this fella here, don't you just use Pythagoras?
Mhm.
And Pythagoras says that this guy squared plus this guy squared is equal to the square root of this one. So 125. And then you grab your calculator, and I know this isn't the right answer, but you find out what it is. And you would end up writing the cosine is 0.123. Now, a lot of trig is concerned with these functions, sine, cosine, tangent. And if you're wondering who the other three are, there's a guy called cosecant, there's another guy called secant, and there's a last guy called tangent. So that's your 6 trig ratios. These 3 are the major ones. These ones you use a lot, not just in trig, but in calculus. These ones you won't use quite as often. For instance, the cosecant is the reciprocal of this guy. You basically just turn the fractions upside down. So it's not uncommon. I've seen some homework questions where you get a triangle maybe completely done, that's the nice ones, or where you're only told, say, 2 sides, and your job is to find all 6 answers. Pretty cool. Have you seen some trig before, or is this brand new to you?
I've seen some before.
Okay. Well, I think things are going good today. On Friday, I'm going to pick a topic. If any of you have questions, like maybe you would like for other people's benefit, even if not for yours, to maybe do a homework question similar to the cow going around that weird L shape, or any other topic, if you shoot me an email before Friday, I'll have something prepared. So on Friday, we'll do a lesson where we'll go over homework questions or topics, maybe like this fella here. Okay.
Wait, I have a quick question.
Sure.
For when they give you a degree, how are you supposed to find the radiant from it? Is it
Well, if you know a degree and you want to get the radian, there's a formula for that. So let me show you how you would do that. So let's suppose I gave you 15 degrees and I'd like to know what that was as a radian. And the formulas for getting that are the radians is the degrees times pi over 180. So what you do is you take 15, you do a pi over 180. And basically, most of the time the book will just ask for a decimal version of this answer.
Yes.
So you would just go 15 times your version of pi on your button. It's 3.1412. And
Could you move the
divided by,
paper? You're kind of going off the screen.
you see it here?
Okay, I see what you mean.
So you go 15 multiplied by a nice long, your calculator has a pi button, use it, divided by 180, and then you take whatever that is and you write it down as a decimal to whatever 2 decimal, 3 decimal places.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Any other questions? I'm going to finish at this point. Are we good?
Think so.
Yeah, all good.
Right, you want to hear a joke before we go then?
Go ahead.
Okay, anybody who's heard me probably has heard this joke before, but here it goes. Scott's guy and his wife went to America on holiday for their wedding anniversary, and they go to a state fair, and they're watching this old-fashioned aircraft that took people up. It's totally open top, and they fly around the state fair and they show people what it's like from there, and then they land. It's like a 15-minute flight. Scott's guy turns to his wife, said, "That looks fun. We should go over and maybe and do that. So he goes over and he says to her, says to the pilot, how much does it cost? He says, oh, it's $100 each. And the Scotsman looks at him and says, that's too much money, I'm not paying that. Can you not make me a deal? And the pilot's looking around and there's nobody else there, and he says, okay, $100 for both of you, but I don't want to hear a sound. If I hear one scream, the bet's off, I want my 200. And so he agrees. And pilot gets in the front, and the other two, the Scotsman and his wife, climb in the back, and off they go. And for the first 5 minutes, he's just doing the usual, circling around the place. And the pilot thinks to himself, says, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to get my money. So he starts doing scary things, see what he can make the guy shout. So we'd zoom towards a mountain at last sight, boom, turn off, not crash. Screech towards the ground, and then at the last minute level off, nothing. Perfect quietness. Starts turning upside down and looping the loop. No matter what he tries, nothing. Perfect silence. So he gives up and he lands, and he goes to the Scots guy and he says, okay, a deal's a deal, it's $100. And he looks at Scotsman, and he says after he's paid, says, it must have been really difficult for you to keep quiet. I tried everything I could think of to make you shout or scream. And the Scotsman nodded and said, it was really hard. I almost screamed when the wife fell up. Okay,
God.
guys, I know it's bad, but I got a captive audience. What can I do? Okay, have a nice day, everybody.
You too.
And
Thank
I
you.
will see you. I will see you on Friday.